All right, Misa, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on. I'm so excited you're my first guest on this podcast, and rightfully so. Misa and I have been working together on clients, and she is a friend of Fitnancial Solutions for sure. Misa, give a brief intro about yourself. They've already heard you in the intro, but tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. And thank you for having me as the first guest. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Misa, and I'm the owner of Perfectly Kept Books, which is a bookkeeping firm where I serve exclusively women-owned businesses because I feel like women are awesome and we can grow great businesses, but we need the right, we need the right foundation in place. And usually that's what we're missing. And so I'm trying to fill this little gap of the women who don't really have that financial support so that they can really actually go and grow a really great business.
That's so important. And every woman listening is like, yes, totally agree. We need you in this market. And I know you provide bookkeeping, but so for all the entrepreneurs listening out there who hear the word bookkeeping, and I always say it's one of the most boring sounding words. Like it sounds like a vegetable your business has to eat, right? It's like bookkeeping. What exactly is bookkeeping? And tell us why you're passionate about it.
So bookkeeping, just at a very basic level, is just keeping record of everything that you're doing in your business. So money you're spending, the money you're earning, every single thing that you're doing, that's what the bookkeeping is. And everything after that builds off of your bookkeeping. So I'm like, if you want to know, okay, how much money can I, or do I need to earn? You can actually track that and see, okay, well, I know I need to spend this much to run my business. So that's all the stuff that bookkeeping does for you. And and then you get into the comparisons of, bookkeeping versus accounting, and it's all in the same family. It's all in the same family. It's just like it works together. So bookkeeping, I like to say, is the foundation for the house that you're building. That's your business. Because without the foundation, there's really no point in having a business. Like there really is. I mean, you can have a business and it can be great and you can be earning all this money, but really, if your books aren't in order, it really doesn't matter because, sure, you're earning 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever. But then when you actually go look at your books, you're not even earning a profit. So it's like, my revenue is this, but you're not really making money.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
So that's something that I kept seeing. And this was even coming out of the corporate world. I would see this even in corporate where people's books weren't even in order. And I'm like, wait a minute, who is doing their books? Because it's like, you just paid an invoice twice. How did you do that? Because that's all it is. It's really keeping track of everything that you're doing when it comes to your money so that you can make sure that you're paying people on time, people are paying you on time, you can actually plan, you can set goals. You can't do any of that without a good set of books.
Yeah, I totally agree. So for the entrepreneur who just heard you say that and they're thinking, oh my God, I don't have my books in order and I know that I need to fix up some stuff and I've been trying to figure this out. I'm not an expert. I'm trying to just, make it work, DIY, and take some messy action in my first year of business because I just need to do this myself, or I just want to take ownership of this better. What should they be doing for bookkeeping at a very basic level? What would you say is like the first thing that you should do when you're starting a business if you want to improve your books? And then we'll get into more ways to really bulletproof them. So what's the number one first thing they should probably do?
The first thing that everybody should do, if you start a business, open a separate account. You will hear everyone in the accounting world say, keep your business and personal separate. And that's like one of the easiest things you can do. I'm like, even if you didn't do any bookkeeping all year, if you have your finances separated, it at least makes it that much easier because everything is in one place and you're not having to kind of go through and figure out, I think this was business, I think this was personal. It just makes things so complicated and just annoying at the end of the year if you are someone who waits. You wait until the very end of the year to do it. that's the very first thing you should do. Just open a separate account. And a lot of people, I don't know if they think about it, but if you have an official business that you registered, you're actually required to do that.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you don't want to get in trouble, which is, well, most people, they don't want to get in trouble. So it's like, just separate it. Just first, you're starting a business. I don't care if you're earning $1. Just separate it and put your dollar in that bank account so that it's separate. And that dollar is the dollar that I earned from my business.
I'm 100% behind you on that one. I tell that to you guys all the time. You know that I'm preaching the separate bank accounts, separate credit cards, all the things like that, right? And I think that's like the number one. That was my number one. If you ask me 5 ways to bulletproof my bookkeeping, number one is that, because if you don't do that, it doesn't matter, because like you said, it's going to be a huge pain for you, but also I'll be selfish. It's a huge pain for me if I'm doing your taxes, because I don't have time to figure that out in the heat of tax season. And it's really important that you are ready for your tax preparation with books already done. It's a prerequisite. And people think that the tax accountant's just going to go do that for you. Yep. I mean, they might, and some people do that for you, but they'll charge you an arm and a leg for sure, because it's in the middle of tax season. And the best thing to do is be proactive, right? And to just get ahead of it. So I totally agree that that's number one. So what are your other, we'll go through each one. What are your other top tips for bulletproofing your bookkeeping when it comes to your business?
Well, you need a system of some sort to keep your records. Me personally, I'm not like, well, let me say this. I love spreadsheets. I do. You love math, accounting. Spreadsheets are fun, but we're in 2021 and there's too much technology to be using a spreadsheet or pen and paper to keep track of your finances. It's wonderful. It's great, but I really recommend actually utilizing technology from the beginning, just because one, when you're starting out, it makes it so much easier to learn the system on your own, because there's not so much stuff going on and you can get it set up correctly in the beginning. You can learn how to do it. So if you do have to DIY, it's not as difficult, and you can actually kind of get some assistance early on so that you can keep track of your books throughout the year. So then when you do come to Shannon and you say, Shannon, I'm ready for my taxes. And she says, oh, okay, are your books in order? And you're like, here they are. And then she's like, yay. And you're her new favorite client.
Exactly. That's, they say like the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I was like, the way to an accountant's heart is really good books.
Yes.
That's 100% true. Like you nailed it. It's like, you will be my favorite client if you have that all done. Or if you work with us during the whole course of the year and make sure that someone we trust does it for you, because that's the magic, right? Is having all that work together in tandem. I love it. So what's your next tip?
Something else that I see that a lot of people don't do is actually reconciling their bank accounts, which ties back to utilizing technology. Yes, you can reconcile your bank account. You can go old school and, you can, but if you use technology like QuickBooks, Xero, it's so many options these days. You can actually physically reconcile your account to make sure that you have accounted for every single thing that hit your bank account. And then you can also catch errors, because, how often are you actually looking at your bank statements? Like, most people don't. You get that email or that notification, hey, a new statement, and then you probably you just delete it. Like, you don't do anything with it, but you actually want to reviewing your bank statement and making sure that what you've entered in matches what your bank says, which also goes back to having that separate bank account.
So for those of the people who just heard you say reconcile your bank accounts, and they don't know maybe what reconcile means. That's definitely a term that we learned when we were young baby accountants. And it sounds like ABC 1, 2, 3 for people like us, but for folks who just heard you say that and they're like, what the heck does it mean to reconcile my account? Could you break down kind of simply what we mean by that?
Reconciling, it's literally matching what you have entered to what your bank says, the activity that your bank says went on. So if you say, okay, for this month, your ending balance is $1,000. Okay, that's what you've entered in, into your system, your accounting system. Now let's look at your bank statement. Are those numbers matching? And they should match. That's the thing. They should match. That's the beauty of accounting, is that everything balances. And if it doesn't balance, something is wrong. So that's pretty much what you're doing, a little balancing at the end of the month. Hopefully at the end of the month.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny you say that, because I always say that, like, the books are easier than the human body, because you know how something hurts and you try to figure out what the reason is, and like something hurts and I can't explain why. And I go, well, at least with accounting, like if something's off, you know exactly that there is a problem that we need to solve, and generally where it is. Most accountants can find those problems if they know what to look for the warning signs. So I totally agree. Reconciling the bank account is a great way to do a check-in to make sure everything's going smoothly. And I think that's one of the number one things that most entrepreneurs forget. They think they go into QuickBooks, and as long as I categorize all my transactions on that banking screen, I'm good. But here's the thing, they should be good, but that's your gut check. That's like the, am I really doing this right? And is everything going well? And is everything reconciled? Because if you don't, then you have to go back multiple months or a year to go back and reconcile it with your accountant or your bookkeeper. And that can take some time. So it's really good to stay on top of that as you go, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So we've got, let's just recap for a second. Separate account, technology, utilizing technology to help you with your books. And we've got reconcile that bank account. And you can reconcile that bank account in the software, right? You don't have to take out a pen and paper to reconcile.
No, you literally just in the software, just you go in, you put in the information they asked for, and then you reconcile and make sure it comes down to 0 and you're good.
Awesome. And so what's your next one? What's your next best tip?
This one, I think it's another one of those things I think a lot of entrepreneurs overlook, actually running financial reports. So, if they're doing some bookkeeping, they may or may not actually be looking at the reports. We hear about the P&L, or the profit and loss, which of course tells you, okay, how much revenue did I make? How much did I spend on expenses? Did I make a profit? Yes or no? But then, yes, that's important. That is very important. You do need to know that, because that can help you plan. But then there are other reports. There are 2 other main reports that you also want to look at, especially as you start to grow, and depending on what field, industry you're in, it can be even more important. And that's your balance sheet and your statement of cash flows. Because really, your balance sheet, it's telling you how healthy your business is. At the end of the day, like regardless of your P&L, if you look at your balance sheet and you see, I have a little bit more liabilities than I have assets, that's probably not going to be good for you.
Yeah, so I agree. I totally agree. And the balance sheet is really, the way I put it to most folks is, imagine you're in a weight loss program. The bookkeeping is like your food journal, but the balance sheet's like your weigh-in, like your check-in. Like that's like how are you doing towards the progress to your goals? Yes, the profit and loss is important because it shows you all the ins and outs. It can show you your calorie intake, output, but where are you towards your ultimate goal in your business? What is your net worth? What is the value of your business? That's going to come from the balance sheet, right?
Exactly. And most people, you don't hear people talking about the balance sheet. It's always, they barely talk about the P&L. It's mostly just revenue. My revenue is this. And I'm like, oh no, there's so many more numbers and things you want to look at. And then realizing how because they all tie together. So it's like, that's, again, accounting is wonderful. Like everything ties back together and it matches. So that's how you can catch errors, and your P&L ties into your balance sheet, and which ties, they all flow and tie together, which that's what I love about accounting.
Exactly. We always want tidy books. We want, perfectly kept books, as you put it, right? And you want to have that peace of mind, right? That's what we're really talking about, is peace of mind, knowing that everything is handled, everything balances, everything makes sense. and that you can then take that and turn that into decisions for your business. That's the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. So we've gone through 4 of those top tips. Now, what is your final piece of advice for the entrepreneur out there who's like, Misa, this is all good. You know, I got good value out of this. I'm going to go DIY this. I got to figure out where to start. What do I do? What's your final piece of advice?
My final piece of advice is to not wait to ask for help, which is what a lot of business owners do. Rather, if you're starting a business, like one of the first things you want to look into is finding a good accountant. And how I like to look at it is I like to have multiple people, you know, kind of in my corner on the finance side. So a good tax accountant, a good bookkeeper, and together you have a little team of people kind of helping you on the financial side so that you know that, okay, am I making the right decisions early on? Am I, you know, should I be investing in that coach, you know, that's going to charge $10,000 and, you know, or do I need to be running ads? Like, people usually start doing those things without actually having the information they need to really make a very actually good and sound decision. And usually it's by the time they ask for help, it's kind of like their books are a mess or like nothing has been done. And then someone has to go back and kind of get all that historical information done and updated and current. And then you can kind of go from there. But it's like, you're starting a business, you need to talk to an accountant, you need to find a bookkeeper. And it's not even it's not even necessarily hiring them right away. It's just getting someone to answer those questions that you're not thinking about. So you probably weren't even thinking, oh, I should separate my accounts. That's what a bookkeeper, an accountant, they will tell you that because I see a lot of business owners don't do it. And I was just like, wait, what? But it's something that you don't know what you don't know. So getting just reaching out, even if it's just, hey, can I ask some questions? Just so that I can make sure I start off on the right foot. And so what I did is I actually have a bookkeeping checklist that's for the new business owner or just someone who they don't know where to start when it comes to bookkeeping. You can download this checklist and it will give you a good brief rundown of what is bookkeeping, what's some information that I should probably be aware of. And it actually gives you a little checklist that you can print out and, put next to your desk so that you can make sure every month you're doing these things to keep your finances in order so that you can come to Shannon with a beautiful, perfectly kept.
Amazing. Exactly. That's what we want. That's what we want. Hold for 1 second. Could you say, I think something cut out there. So you say, so you can come to Shannon. Could you start introducing the checklist again?
Okay. So I do have a free bookkeeping checklist for either the new business owner or just someone who you haven't even thought about your bookkeeping and you want to get started and get on the right path with your finances. And in this download that you'll get, it'll give you some background on bookkeeping, what it is, why it's important. And then it will give you also an actual checklist that you can put, in your office, by your desk, so that you can make sure you're checking these items off every month and staying on top of your finances and not waiting to the last minute. So that when it does come to tax time, you can call Shannon up and say, hey, Shannon, I'm ready to go. I have my beautiful, perfectly kept set of books and we're ready to file taxes.
I love it. I'm a total fan of the checklist to create habits. Like I have lists of things that I need to do. I'm the queen of to-do list. I'm an Enneagram 3 and always have, a to-do list next to me. And we'll even cross off things I've already done. Just write them down and cross them off because I want credit, right? So I'm a queen of checklists. So I love that you're offering that and that you're enabling other entrepreneurs to start adopting these habits and get smart about their money and their books using that. And that's such a cool tool. So we'll make sure that we put that in the show notes for everyone. Please go download Misa's checklist and go use it. It's awesome. And what would you say to the entrepreneur out there who's thinking, I know I need to hire an accountant. I know I need help with this stuff, but they're just so dang expensive. They want to charge me by the hour. These accountants are so pricey. Is there an option for like the person just starting out? Do they have to hire a CPA? Do they have to go to a firm? What is your recommendation for who to turn to for help?
Well, one, I will say it's find the right one for you. There are so many options out there. And so you really do want to find someone who gels with you and works with your personality and where you're trying to go. And also thinking about, because I know there are some who like they specifically like you can only hire them. That's all you can do. But then there's ones like me where I do offer for people who aren't quite ready to fully outsource. If you want someone to kind of walk you through how can I use QuickBooks and actually use it correctly and not get confused about how to do this or that, that's where someone like me or someone similar to me can come in, just to actually, you can ask questions. You can say, how do I do this? What is this? Because that's the part I really, really want new business owners to have, is understanding what it is, what it means, and what you actually have to do. Because I'm like, just because you can hire it, you still want to understand what's going on. Just because if you don't understand, someone who does, they can do whatever they want to do in your business and you wouldn't have any idea. And I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody, just because finances are very, very personal. It's very intimate. And you want to make sure that you're working with someone, whether it's ongoing or just someone that you can connect with, ask questions, that you can trust them and they are a person of integrity. That's usually my big thing. It's just find someone who can meet you where you are today.
Awesome. I could not agree with you more. I'm just going like in my mind going, preach, Misa, the whole time. I think you guys can see why I work with Misa and why I advocate for working with her. She's phenomenal and she offered so much value today in this conversation. I hope you've jotted down her 5 top tips and that you go follow her on Instagram. Where can people find you? Is that where you're most active? How do they get in touch with you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at Perfectly Kept Books. And if you look up Perfectly Kept Books, you'll find me. So one way or another, you will find me.
Amazing. So I like to end an interview with a few rapid fire questions that I did not tell Misa I was going to ask, because it's just fun. It's fun to ask a few surprises here and there. And as I interview more accountants on this podcast, I'm sure I'll make them very uncomfortable with unexpected questions that they could not prepare for. So let's start with a few fun questions about money in general. So this is not a CPA exam. This is great. So rapid fire question 1, what is one investment that you currently can't live without?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, really any kind of technology. I can't think of like a specific technology. I love technology. So you know what? Actually, my Nook. There we go.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Because I do love to read, but I realized I kept buying physical books and it was just taking up space. And so I have a Nook and I can download samples and I can keep all my books like in one place. And that's probably one of the best things I ever bought as far as an investment.
I love it. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big investment. It can just be like, what is like paying you back tenfold in what you bought, right?
Yes.
What is one thing that you once learned about money that turned out not to be true?
That you have to work hard to earn money. Like you really don't have to. I don't want to say you don't have to work for it, but well, some people may not have to work for it. If you set it up right, you might not have to. But like money really is it's just an energy and it can flow to you. Like, they society in the world, they try to say, work hard and go earn. And I'm like, no, there's an unlimited supply of money. It's something that if you want it, you can get it. Now, if you don't want it, you cannot get it too. So that's completely up to you.
Yes. And that's a whole nother podcast.
Yes.
So I love that. I love that answer. So that you have to work hard for your money. And I just, that's so true. That is such a, I'm of the millennial generation, and I believe that's kind of a boomer message, right? Is like, you have to work hard
Yes.
for your money. And I think that so much is changing when it comes to evolving how we think about money. And I love that that's one of them, because that's one of the ones for me too, that I totally agree. Finally, last question. What makes you feel like a millionaire?
Oh, well, you know what makes me feel like a millionaire really is recently I've really been digging into like human design and all that stuff, all that great stuff. And so I'm a generator. And with this type, it's about just kind of finding the thing that brings you joy. And that's usually whenever I'm like really, really lit up, as they say, like that's how I feel like a millionaire. Like I can sit and I can do something all day long, losing track of time. And that just makes me feel just wonderful. And then knowing on the other end, people are being helped, they're being supported, they're being celebrated. That just really makes me just, I'm like, there's like no amount of money that you can put on, someone saying, oh my goodness, Misa, you helped me do this. And I'm just like, yay. And it's just, that's what I love.
And that is so much better than a corporate salary. It really is. When you know you're making an impact and that you're actually driving positive change in this world. And that's exactly why as entrepreneurs, we do what we do. So I appreciate so much that you have that similar ethos. And again, guys, please follow Misa on Instagram. Reach out to her if you're interested in getting some support with your books. She's one of our partners, and we're a fan of her as well. And do ask any questions. If anything inspired you on this episode, share it with us. Tag us on Instagram, share it to your stories, and let us know how we were able to help you. All right. Thank you, Misa, for joining me. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.